If you're in a season where you're currently deciding whether to pack it up or push through, I am here to let you know whatever you decide, on the other side of that, life is going to be so good for you. Welcome back to another episode of Sistervention. I'm your host, Crystal Chanel, here to give you all the big sister advice you never knew you needed, but absolutely need to hear. Today, we are talking about something that is very special on my heart because there is a very thin line between when to push through and when to pack it up. Whether it's a job, a friendship, a dream, a relationship, it's hard to know when to make the right decision to let things go. So I'm here to help you navigate through it all. Let's get into it. We live in a culture that tells us to never give up, keep pushing, stay down till you come up. And honestly, if you're anything like me, you have boomer parents, they just don't believe that you should quit anything. They believe that it's just a rite of passage to just see it through, even if you hate it. And I can only speak for myself, but when I say that, it's just not my ministry. I do not subscribe to that at all. But I think there is a fine line between keep it going. Don't give up so soon, sis. There's power in the pivot, but you're pivoting a little too quickly and just unnecessary suffering. We're not here to suffer. Life is way too short. So how do you know the difference? Perseverance looks like growth. It's progress, even if it's slow, but you know that you're moving the needle forward to what you want to do. And I also think when you have perseverance, it's because whatever you're working towards, you're relentlessly chasing that thing. You can't stop thinking about whatever that thing is. And that's what makes you want to keep going every single day. Now, there is just unnecessary suffering. When there's no return on ROI, you're no longer passionate about said thing. Those are sometimes signals that, okay, you might need to pack it up. You guys know me. I'm always the one to tell you, ask yourself the tough questions. Am I just pushing through because I'm scared to let go? Or is this something that I really, really want? A lot of times I will say when it's a sign to keep going, it's very clear. You just don't want to, right? When you think about that thing every day and it's like, oh my God, I really want to be married. I really want to be married. I really want to be married. Or, oh my God, I really want to be rich. I really want to be rich. I really want to be rich. That is something that you really want because there are a lot of people out here like, look, Dad, I'm not checking for no man. And if a check comes in the mail, cool, but like I'm not trying to be Bill Gates, and that is fine. But if you're someone who has these thoughts that are always in your head, I want to be famous, I want to be an influencer, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be successful, you need to keep going. You need to keep going. Sometimes it's hard, and that's just what it is. It is hard. And again, the growth is slow. It could be so slow, but those are all the signs that you need to keep going. Now, when you feel drained and uninspired and you don't want to keep on going, that's a different story. That's when you can consider, I didn't say you have to bow out, but that is when you can at least consider, is this really for me? If you were staying out of fear or guilt or obligation, it might be time to pivot. And again, this can apply to anything, and honestly, a lot of times I think the hardest are family dynamics when you feel guilty about, turning your back on your family per se, or, say you have a job that someone got you the job, so you feel guilty leaving. If these things are not serving you, you have to put yourself first. I do not care what it is. I do not care what it is. And that is the thing about women, right? We will always put others before us. We'll do a lot of things out of obligation. And then we have resentment because it's like, we know. We should have been got out of there. But what do? We stayed. And that does nothing but set you back. Now, if there's no progress and there's just constant struggle, it might be time to pack it up, sis. I'm sorry, but it might be time to pack it up. I believe in ease and flow. And while there's always going to be conflict, there also has to be conflict resolution. If there's no clear solution in sight, and again, sometimes you're in the thick of it, right? You're in the mud. You really can't see it. But if you've been doing this thing for a long time and there's no movement, there's no progress, there's no solution, these are some things to consider. And lastly, you guys already know, your mental health. Sis, I am not playing when it comes to my mental health or yours. You need to take care of your mental health. If something that you are dealing with is stressing you out mentally or physically and you're suffering, it might be time to pack it up. Because one thing I've learned is that the blessing is sometimes in the release. The Art of Letting Go, there is a book, I recommend everyone to read it. It's called The Art of Letting Go. Is so important. And like I said, knowing the timing of when to let go and when to keep going is something that I think, you will spend our whole lives trying to master. But there is so much beauty in the release. Have you ever just known you need to do something and then you let it go? You just feel so much lighter. And honestly, all the anxiety and fear that you had leading up to this thing, you realize that what was all that for? There was no reason for me to even build all this anxiety up. And I think the next time that you go to do that hard thing, everything just feels a little bit lighter. But that release can be such a blessing. Can we be real for a second? When you let go of something, there is an emotional roller coaster that we didn't necessarily sign up for. It is such a taxing emotional journey when you finally do that thing and you let go that I think a lot of us just aren't really prepared for. You have those feelings of, did I make the right decision? You have that feeling of guilt, judgment, shame. And then you just have the grief of it all, right? Because you were so used to doing that thing or being with that person, and now that's just not there. And while it may feel like the end, it truly is just the beginning. So buckle up, sis, because that ride is definitely quite the ride, but it's so worth it. It's normal to feel the mix of emotions, but I really think you have to give yourself time. When you make a big decision, I think we are so quick to be like, all right, so what's next? What's next? It's like, sis, slow down. Slow down. And you just made a huge decision. You probably just did something that was really impactful. You built up a lot of courage to do. Allow yourself to rest and really feel and really soak in what you just did, because a lot of times we like to move on to the next thing as a distraction. So we don't really have to face the consequences of what it really meant that we did that thing that we've been waiting to do. I also want to talk about rebuilding with intention, because a lot of times we'll do these things, but it's let's actually take the next steps to rebuild whatever that was with intention. What do we learn from this experience? Because it's one thing to let something go, but if you go right back to that same person, different font, or same job, different font, did we really learn, sis? Did we really learn? Use this time as a period to reflect, revise, set new boundaries, and redirect your life. The thing I love about life is that, again, you can do whatever you want to do. You can go in any direction that you want, but you have to believe in yourself and you have to actually want to do it. Okay. So take the time. I feel like so much of what I preach on this podcast is taking the time. And I know, but nobody wants to hear that, right? Everybody wants everything like this, including myself. But you really do need time to understand what you are doing. If you do not slow down and you do not have time to yourself to actually understand what is going on and feel your emotions, baby, you're going to be out here like a bag in the wind. And nobody wants to be a bag in the wind. You want to be a girl who knows where she's going. And again, it's not about the speed, it's about the direction. What are you trying to do? And as long as you are inching towards that thing, you're on the right track, sis. You're on the right track. I talk about letting go all the time. I've done an episode on, leaving my job. I've let friends go. I've let men go. I've let, bad habits go. They are all for the betterment of my life. And while I wanted to hold on those things because, again, they were comfortable, they were familiar, all the things, what's on the other side? So I want to give you guys a little story time because, look, everything I talk about, trust me, I've lived it, okay? There has been so many times I feel like I just had to let go. And as someone who is loyal to the squirrel, I am a Scorpio through and through. I really do sometimes have a hard time letting go. And not always when it comes to, a job or, something trivial, right? It's like, okay, I got to let my car go or I got to let my house go. I was able to do those things. But, when it comes to people, it can get very, very difficult to let people go. But I think who you want to be on the other side of that, when we talk about the blessing and the release, it's waiting for you. And a lot of times you're so scared to make that step because you fear you're going to be alone or, what other people will think or the people that were attached to those people. But when I tell you who you want to be may require you to do that hard thing or release that person, you need to do the hard thing for yourself. I have these conversations with friends all the time. And it's like, we take these bold steps and we watch our whole lives change. And that comes from having the courage to let go. Oftentimes, we are blocking our own blessings because we just want to hold on so tight to whatever that thing is because it's comfortable, it's familiar. But I'm telling you, you cannot pick up anything if your hand is closed. So you need to release. And again, this doesn't have to be a person. It could simply be fear. A lot of people are in their own way. Fear is stopping a lot of people from doing a lot of things. And when I say we only have one life to live, we only have one life to live. So if you want to live it in fear and being scared to take that next step for whatever it may be, I've done podcasts on moving to a new city, whether it's moving to a new city or leaving that man or having the courage to tell your family, look, like I can't do the toxicity. I got to go. Whatever it may be, the job, whatever, you can't live and have fear. It will be crippling. Fear can be so crippling. Anxiety is so crippling. It will stop you from doing everything that you were put on this earth to do. And if I don't do anything else on this podcast, I'm here to empower women. I am here to let you guys know that you can do whatever you want to do in this lifetime. But you have to believe in yourself and you have to understand the difference of when to keep going and when you're settling and when to change the plan. Everything is not always what you thought it was going to be. And that's fine. That's actually the beauty of life. Nothing is actually what we thought it was going to be. But the unknown is so beautiful if you allow it to be. It can either be beautiful or it can be scary. But either way, it's going to happen because you don't know what's going to happen. So it's not in control. We are not in control, sis. And you know what? That brings me to my sister vent of the week because I want to sister vent about my own damn self today. I am such an all or nothing person. If you are like that, please leave a comment below and let me know I am not alone. I am such an all or nothing person. My personality is all or nothing. And this applies in every area of my life. Either I like you or I don't. If I am on a diet, either we are like eating so clean, no carbs, veggies, protein, hitting all our macros, or I am like training to be a sumo wrestler. Like, why am I eating 4,000 calories a day? Like, I just have no in between. And as someone who really loves being very black and white, right? I'm very logical. I think everything can just be solved. I'm very solutions oriented. It can get very frustrating because not only are most people not like that, but there is so much beauty in the gray. And I think going back to this episode's topic of knowing when to push, when to pull, when to give up, when to keep going, you know, there is going to be that gray area. And I am someone who has to know left or right, push or pull, like immediately, right? I don't even allow myself to rest in that time because I'm so like, I got to get to where I'm going. But if you do not enjoy the journey of where you're going, when you get there, it's like, now what? What was all of that? What was all that for? And it's something I'm working on because, hey, your girl also has some self-development too. And again, we're all doing this together. This is a sisterhood. It's a safe space. All right. All right. But when I say I'm all or nothing, baby, I'm all or nothing. Either I'm obsessed with you or I want nothing to do with you. And my ability to just be like this scares me sometimes. Like, while some people really have a hard time, you know, letting things go, it may take me a second, but when I get there, baby, there's no turning back. And honestly, I do want to get better at that because I do think that, you know, sometimes things are messy and they're not crystal clear. No pun intended. But, you know, it's a work in progress. I will say that. It is a work in progress for me. I very much so love looking at things black and white. But I do think there is so much power in being able to see things from both sides and rest in the gray. And while I do often see things from both sides, I'm like, yeah, and my side is the side I'm going with, and that's that, you know? And you might miss out on a lot of things. I think one thing is when you are quick to let things go or you have the ability to let things go, sometimes you're wrong, right? I'm willing to admit that. Sometimes I am wrong. I really haven't been wrong, but you know, I can be wrong and I probably will be wrong, you know, in the future, many, many, many times to come. But, you know, I stand on business 10 toes down. My decision is my decision and I'm okay with that. But I will say my all or nothing personality is like really great at times because that's how I'm so like goal oriented and I knock out all my goals and I'm very high achieving. But then there's just sometimes I'm like, babe, we're not doing anything in this season. It's like, it's okay to just chill out, right? Like, One day you may be on it, the next you're not. But if you're like this, and well, you can't, if you're listening, you can't see my hands, but if you're in a constant middle, you're going to be a lot more successful than the girl who's like, one year she's killing it, the next she's depressed, not doing anything. The next year she's on a high, the next year she's on the low. I never forget, I worked at Yelp and they told me, never ride your highs too high and your lows too low, because life is always going to change. And that's the beauty about it, right? Like, nothing lasts forever. But if you're like me and you're just an all or nothing type of girly, I'm like, baby, one day I want to diet, and I'm like, yes, I'm working out and eating clean. And that, I think that is what kills me the most, because you know you can do the thing, right? Because you've done it and you've done it really well. But that switch comes on and now you're like in just a totally different mode. And I'm like, it's giving Jekyll and Hyde a bit, if I'm really being serious. But, you know, it's just very interesting to me. So I wanted to vent about myself because it's something I'm definitely working on. And I'm like, you know what, Crystal, just do a little bit every single day. You don't have to knock out 20 things in one day and then the next day you're tired, you don't want to do anything. Because that's what happens. I'll have these crazy days where I'm like, wow, I took over the world today. And then the next day I'm in the bed like, wow, I'm not moving. And those, again, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. No, it's totally fine. But what I will say is that it's just like, girl, if you just did a little bit every day, you'd be all right. So I guess it really boils down to like lack of consistency. But I do just have an all or nothing personality. So I wanted to vent about myself today. If you are like that, please let me know, because maybe we could start a separate support group for the all or nothing girlies. But, you know, I'm going to work on that. So I'll definitely keep you guys updated. But I want to hear from you. Leave me a comment below. If you love this episode, leave us 5 stars, of course, and a review. If you're not subscribed to YouTube and you want to watch all my crazy facial expressions and see our guests in person, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's Sistervention Pod. And of course, again, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think of the episodes and rate the podcast, okay? Rate the podcast. We cannot do this without you guys. I'm so thankful for this community, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. It was a quick one, but hopefully it was an impactful one. I love you guys. We are in this thing. We are really doing it. All right. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.